I am absolutely shocked. What I'm about to tell you in this video is mind-blowing and revolutionary for the soldier. This is such groundbreaking news I had to change into a t-shirt. So here's what's going on. The US Army has something called Motor Pool Monday, and it's arguably one of the worst days of the week, and most soldiers think it's a complete waste of time. I'll explain that in a second, but the Army figured out a way how to change all of that. The US Army wants to implement simulators inside of your vehicles instead of your vehicles just sitting in one location for its whole life. Now, this is groundbreaking. Let me break this down and show you guys why this is crazy. Now, first things first, here's what you have to understand about Motor Pool Mondays. It's a very important day, and it's a day that's also a complete waste of time. Let me explain this, and I know a lot of you already know where I'm going with this. So the theory behind Motor Pool Monday, because I say theory as in this is what's supposed to happen, soldiers show up every Monday, the beginning of the work week, and you go and you maintain and check your vehicles, especially if you have training during the week. You want to make sure that your Humvees or whatever vehicles are going to work. But the issue is a lot of soldiers out there, including myself, we've worked and maintained the same vehicles our whole Army contracts, only for them never to leave the motor pool. And for a lot of us, it just seemed like a complete waste of time. And I promise, we will get to where things are going to change, but what also ends up happening is you have what's called layouts. You have to go check your connexes to make sure you have all of your supplies there, even though you've never touched them. It ends up turning into a bunch of tasks that no one asked you to do, but then all of a sudden it became like the most important thing of the week. And a lot of soldiers today, especially a lot of soldiers who are not deploying or going into combat scenarios, this is what happens every Monday, and it's driving soldiers insane. But things are finally going to change. There was an idea out there from the Army Future Command leader. Why not take vehicles and put simulators inside of the vehicles instead of soldiers wasting their entire days on Motor Pool Monday? And this is huge news for Motor Pool Monday and for the future generation of soldiers, because the US Army already has the technology to do this, and they are already using it. So let me explain what some of the pros and cons may be of all of this. Now, the US Army has something called the One World Terrain. And I want you to imagine like you're playing Call of Duty, but the map you are in with Call of Duty is a real-life location. Imagine you constantly playing on that Call of Duty map, then going into real life and knowing exactly where you need to be and where you need to go. That's essentially what One World Terrain does. And One World Terrain was actually used during the evacuation of Afghanistan. So we know it works, and we know that soldiers like the system because it creates a trust in whatever environment they are currently operating in or a future environment you might be working in. Now, if you take that same tool and integrate it in whatever vehicle you are working on, whether it's a Bradley, a Stryker, anything you're working on, it creates a next level of training for the soldier, and you're not wasting your time at the motor pool anymore. Because any soldier who's ever gone to a motor pool, it's like you do your one task and then you just wait in the corner and hope nobody calls on you, and you're like thinking, man, should I have joined the Army? What am I doing here? Someone's calling on me to go check on the connex again. But no, that changes. Now once you work on your vehicle, you can get inside of the vehicle, which is awesome for the light fighter, and you can start to train on something that's pretty fun and cool. But like all things military, everything that sounds great, there's always something bad that comes with it. So let me explain where the cons are with using simulators in the Army. So probably one of the most common simulators that every soldier will use is called EST, Engagement Skills Training. And if you have what's called a range day, before you go out and use your rifle, you will use a fake rifle, and you have an air compressor, and you can practice using your iron sights or whatever it may be. It's just a way to get familiar with the product you're about to use. But as most people know, when you go from a simulation to the real thing, it's almost not comparable. The main thing that EST does bring you is being able to know where to place like your cheek on your buttstock, or understanding how many sandbags you want to use, or just getting muscle memory with selector switch training from safe to fire. Other than that, it's not like the most accurate representation of what you're supposed to do on the range. I will even use myself as an example. When I went to basic training, the first time I used EST, I was like, this is the easiest thing ever. I'm not missing anything. The kick is not even that bad. When we went to the real range, I was not used to the muzzle flash, the noise. I was almost like a little shook. Obviously, as I got a little more seasoned, I was good to go. But again, that's the biggest con when you're using a simulator, is that it only gives you an ounce of trust and being a little more familiar with your tools. Something else I see happening is that if you integrate every vehicle with a simulator, some of them are going to break, it's going to cost a lot of money, and as a soldier, I always wanted the least amount of equipment because I didn't want to sign for anything, because if I break it or lose it, it's my fault, and I can see a scenario where soldiers get screwed over hardcore because of simulators in their vehicles. Now, the Army did say why they want to do this. First things first is that the technology is there. We already established this at the beginning of the video. But second off, I thought this was rather interesting. The Army just straight up admitted that Motor Pool Mondays are like a complete waste of time. And being able to work on your vehicles is great, but why not be able to work on your vehicle and actually know how to operate it in whatever environment you are in? You need to understand that wherever you are deployed as a soldier or wherever you go, that's where your motor pool will be established. Typically, when you think of motor pools, you think stateside. But let's say you're going to Afghanistan or whatever, you can now bring your motor pool there, integrate the simulator in the vehicle, create a virtual map, and whatever route you're going in, you already know what to expect because it was in your virtual training. And I know what a lot of you are thinking, why not just already have your own little simulator area on a base and then soldiers can just go train over there? What you have to realize is that everything in the Army is complicated. It's not just like, hey, I make a phone call. You gotta sign things out. You gotta wait in line for other units who are using simulator training. It's not that easy. So to just have the power right in your vehicle and to be able to train there, that's a huge deal. I'm really not trying to come off as trust me bro type source, but trust me bro type source, Motor Pool Monday is probably one of the most leading factors to where soldiers just get really annoyed and question as to why they are a soldier. Because on one hand, it's very important, but on the other hand, how many soldiers just show up to Motor Pool Monday, maintain their vehicles, and then just wait till lunchtime to leave or to come back just to stand around again? So yeah, that's essentially the story. But I want you guys, please realize, we already have simulators, but it's just a pain in the butt to get there as a soldier. And Motor Pool Monday has always been an issue of, are we wasting time? Are we actually doing our job? To be able to integrate everything together and to make Motor Pool Monday worth it, I think that's amazing. We need to give the guy who thought of this the Bronze Star or something. But leave your comments and opinions down below. That's essentially the story. Let me know if you guys think this is a complete waste of time. Do you think this is actually going to happen? I think this is incredible.